Hello there, Dave here. We are in the book of Joshua in my quest to get from Genesis to Revelation as a quick overview, chapter by chapter. Maybe by the end of the year, we'll see. We still have a lot of books to cover. Joshua is the first historical book of the Old Testament where we start getting into Joshua, Judges, 1st, 2nd Samuel, 1st, 2nd Kings, 1st, 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, all of the history portion that goes from them coming into the Promised Land up until Babylon and Persia and all that time period. Anyway, Joshua begins after Moses is gone. In fact, that's how it begins. Joshua is there, God saying to Joshua, Moses, my servant, is dead. Now go into the land. It's kind of like, you know what? It's time to get up and move on. Time to get up, press forward and press ahead. The leader is now Joshua, and Joshua in a very real way is a type of Christ, a type of Jesus. The name Joshua even means Jesus. Look it up. Anyway, Hebrew is Joshua, Greek, Jesus. So anyhow, the Yeshua, Jesus, is and so there's a lot of typology you can get into in Joshua, especially when it comes to possessing the land, as he's going to do in the book of Revelation, when the Lord comes back to take back the world, all of it. Anyway, preparations for crossing the Jordan, all in chapter 1. The rescue of Rahab in chapter 2. He sends in just 2 spies this time. And they're not really spies, they're more like evangelists, because all they do, they never really come back with any information about Jericho. They just come back with information about Rahab and her family. Like, hey, this one lady, Rahab, this harlot, they had a place for us to stay, and she protected us and kept us from getting seen by the security of Jericho. Anyway, it's pretty interesting that the only real thing was Rahab's confession of faith, and she becomes one of those people in the book of Hebrews that mentions Rahab and her faith. And it's interesting too, because it tells us that the people of Jericho and the surrounding areas in Canaan knew about the things of Israel, knew about what they were doing in the wilderness, knew about the Egyptian exodus 40 years ago at this point. So it's pretty interesting to see that the testimony of what God's people were doing was spreading out there. Joshua 3, the crossing of the Jordan, camping by the Jordan River, the Ark of God leading the way, Joshua encouraging Israel, and God encouraging Joshua. Many times we hear the phrase, be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Be strong and courageous. Joshua had to hear it a lot of times, and we have to hear it a lot of times as well. Crossing over the Jordan River into the Promised Land meant there was going to be a lot of battles. The first 11 or 12 chapters of Joshua is them getting to the land, and then it's possessing the land, battle after battle after battle. At any rate, there's a lot of it. It's a battle book. Chapter 4, setting up memorial stones, crossing the Jordan River. And it's pretty neat that God parted the Jordan River similar to how he parted the Red Sea. Now, the Red Sea would have been a lot more spectacular, a lot bigger of a river. If you've been to the Jordan River, it's not that big of a river. But during flooding stages, it would be hard to cross, especially with a lot of people. Certainly, this made it simpler and easier for them to follow. And he had them set up memorial stones, and that's kind of what I want to end with. Those memorial stones are mentioned by John the Baptist when he said, God himself could set up children of Abraham from these stones. He's talking about possibly the stones that were set up by Joshua as a reminder to the people. And you and I have that opportunity in our own lives to set up our own memorial stones, our own memorial pillars, our own stakes in the ground to remind us of what God does in our lives and to remind us of his work every day, because he does an amazing work with you. God bless, and keep studying the word. Thank you.